Testing. Oh,
Okay. Well, are we ready? No, I got a email from him. His flight was delayed in Kansas City, so. Okay, we're a couple minutes behind schedule. I'd like to call this July 8th regular meeting of the Paradise Town Council to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation to be given by Jody Jones. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, thank you for being with us here tonight at the Paradise Town Council. We ask that you guide the decisions of the council tonight, and that you be with everyone here, that you keep our law enforcement and our firemen safe, and that you just keep fires from breaking out. We pray all this in your precious name.
Amen.
Okay, well, we have no proclamations tonight.
Call the roll. Roll call.
But we need a roll call first.
Vice Mayor Bolin is absent. Councilmember Culleton. Here. Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Rawlings.
Here.
And Mayor Lauder.
Here. Okay, consent calendar. On the consent calendar, one roll call vote will be taken for all items placed on the consent calendar.
I have a correction to the meeting minutes, which are item 3A.
Okay,
Take that.
go ahead, and the clerk has pen ready.
On page 12, under item 8C, it says that the council concurred to appoint Councilmember John Rollins as the town's voting delegate. But actually, I think I was appointed the voting delegate, and I checked with Dina.
That's
She went
correct.
back to the minutes, and that was correct.
And John was going to be the alternate,
First alternate, correct.
first alternate. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that that correction. Do we have any cards on any of the items on the consent calendar?
I have 2 cards from Tom Kelly on 2 separate items. And
Okay, Mr. Kelly, why don't you come forward and address the council? Go ahead, and we won't make you go sit down and stand up again. You can do them both.
No, that's okay. 3A and 3C, 3E and 3C, the waiver, the reading of the ordinance 543, adopt the ordinance, tax regulations, et cetera. And the other one is that, read by title, adding chapter to the municipal code
Right.
for a tax. And, I mean, you want to put a tax measure on the ballot, that's fine. And the other one, the first one, I don't understand it. What are you trying to do with 3C?
3C, it's what it is it's our when something's on the consent calendar, it is just the second reading. That's the ordinance relating to fences and gates, and the clarification and the definition.
You're satisfied that you got a definition that'll work? Fine, go for it.
I believe it's been thoroughly vetted by the council and by staff and our attorney, and we're good with it. The other one is just the item on the as required on the sales tax measure, because we changed
Yeah, putting a sales tax measure.
we changed some wording.
That's okay. Thank you.
Go ahead and pick it up, John. There. Oh, he killed it. Yeah.
Pizzas tonight.
Yeah, just go ahead and take the order. Okay, any other cards on the consent calendar?
Consent calendar, no, sir.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Thank you. We have a motion by Jones, a second by? Second by Culleton. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Culleton? Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings?
Aye.
Mayor Lauder?
Aye. Okay, move on to our public hearing procedure. If you're here for the public hearing on 5A, which is ordinance 546, please take note of the public hearing procedure. We're going to, on 5A, conduct a duly noticed and scheduled public hearing concerning the display of outdoor merchandise in commercial zones and consider concurring with the project's CEQA determination finding the adopted by the Planning Commission on June 17th and embodied within the Planning Commission Resolution number 144, and then waiving first reading of ordinance 546 and read by title only. Ordinance 546 regarding exterior displays of merchandise in the commercial zone. Madam Manager?
Okay, well, this item is going to be presented by Craig Baker, our Community Development Director.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Good evening, Mayor Lauder, members of the council. This item's been put on your agenda this evening for you to consider a Planning Commission resolution recommending Town Council amendment of some text regulations in our zoning code that are contained within the Paradise Municipal Code related to the outdoor display of merchandise. Over the past year or more, your town staff has observed an increase in the number of retail businesses displaying considerable accumulations of merchandise, often used merchandise, along their commercial storefronts, parking areas, and areas intended for pedestrian use. Town staff, planning commissioners, and town council members have all experienced a corresponding increase in the number of written and verbal complaints regarding this circumstance. There is currently no legal limit, no statutory legal limit in our municipal code to the size of the area that can be occupied by outdoor displays of merchandise in front of stores, or even in the general vicinity of stores. In addition, the town's temporary use regulations allow outdoor parking lot sales, flea markets, and similar sales activities, exterior sales activities, up to 96 days in a calendar year, and may occupy up to 50% of the off-street parking spaces required for the business. I've got some photos to illustrate this, the types of circumstances that we've been encountering in town, and I'm sure that you're familiar with several of these. It's not a reflection of each individual business. It's just a circumstance that's developed perhaps partly due to the economy and the popularity of businesses like this. This particular business, Antique Boutique, has recently closed. But all of these businesses are characterized by outdoor displays of merchandise of one form or another. And we may need to go back to some of these to illustrate some of the directions that your town staff took in developing the proposed ordinance and the effect that the proposed ordinance might have on these individual businesses. So in response to these circumstances, town staff initiated an effort to draft zoning ordinance text amendments for eventual town council consideration to try to address this issue. In December 2013, an ad hoc committee was formed comprised of town staff along with representatives of the Planning Commission and Town Council, and developed a set of proposed Paradise Municipal Code zoning ordinance text amendments. If these text amendments were adopted in their original form, they would result in changes to the town's zoning ordinance designed to limit the amount of exterior space that can be devoted to the outdoor display of merchandise and reduce the number of days during which larger parking lot sales and similar sales activities may be conducted. On February 18th, 2014, the Planning Commission conducted their first public hearing regarding these proposed text amendments to consider a resolution recommending Town Council adoption of the ad hoc committee's proposed text amendments. The meeting was well attended by members of the business community who generally expressed concerns regarding how the proposed regulations would affect their businesses. The Planning Commission subsequently continued the hearing and encouraged the local business owners in attendance to meet with the town's ad hoc committee to discuss the proposed text amendments and perhaps make further changes that everyone might be comfortable with. The town's ad hoc committee conducted several meetings, 3 I believe, to discuss the proposed text amendments. A good exchange of ideas occurred during those meetings, and the representatives that were in attendance that were not members of the town, or not representatives of the town, represented approximately 4 to 6 local retail businesses that often display merchandise outdoors. At the conclusion of our last meeting with the business owners, there was general consensus that the text amendments included within the attached resolution or rather the attached ordinance document that you have attached to your materials were acceptable, both from the perspective of preserving the aesthetics of the town's commercial areas and from the perspective of the business community. On June 17th, the Planning Commission conducted a continued public hearing regarding the proposed text amendments and adopted Planning Commission Resolution number 14-4. The resolution document identifies and recommends Town Council adoption of several text amendments that were the result of your town's ad hoc committee meetings with the local business owners, and identifies the adoption and recommends the adoption of several amendments to the text contained within chapters 1706, which is general site development regulations, and 1732, which is the temporary use regulations. As I said, a copy of this resolution document is attached for your review. The text amendments within the attached ordinance document are intended to address the size and duration of outdoor merchandise displays without unreasonably limiting the ability for each business to display merchandise outdoors. If adopted as proposed, the ordinance would accomplish the following objectives. 17 categories of activities and types of merchandise displays would be exempt from the new requirements. Things like firewood sales, landscape materials, statuary, vehicles, Christmas tree sales, etc. I have a map, another visual aid here that I'd like to show you that will illustrate the effect of the next 2 objectives. This is a map that's probably difficult to see in this projection, but you have a copy in your packets, and hopefully it's displayed on your screens. Every business in the central business zone and in selected corridor gateway areas along Lower Skyway and Clark Road could display merchandise outdoors in an area located 5 feet from a single building wall, up to 50% of the length of that single wall.
Can we turn off the light so the audience can better see the
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can blow it up too. There we go. Battery.
Businesses in all other commercial areas outside the town, outside the central business zone and those 2 selected gateway corridors could display merchandise outdoors in an area located 10 feet from a single building wall along its entire length, rather than being limited to 15%. Businesses not displaying merchandise along its storefront facing the street could display merchandise in enclosed exterior areas located beyond setback areas. And an example of that type of business display would be Deja Vu Paradise on Pearson Road. Parking lot sales, flea markets, and other similar sales activities could be conducted for up to 3 consecutive days and up to 21 days in the same year-long period. Merchandise displays would not be permitted within public rights-of-ways, vehicle access ways, doorways required for pedestrian access, or parking areas, unless expressly permitted by the temporary use regulations in the town's zoning code. Town staff and the Planning Commission determined that these text amendments are minor in nature and they can be found to be exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act. The Planning Commission adopted a finding as such. The proposed ordinance document is attached to your materials, including several other documents, including Planning Commission Resolution number 14-4. So our requested action for you this evening is for you to concur with the CEQA determination adopted by the Planning Commission, waive the first reading of ordinance number 546, and introduce ordinance number 546. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions for you this evening. That concludes.
Good. Has everybody seen the map sufficiently? We can turn the lights back on. All right.
I'll keep it up there.
Any questions from the council?
I got a question. Okay, if this ordinance is adopted the way it's written, you showed 2 different examples on those slides. Deja Vu
Yes.
Road,
Right.
Salvation Army. Those, where they have that outside display is not on the,
That's correct.
So how would this ordinance affect that?
There is an exception in your ordinance. Give me a moment to turn to the document, and I'll point it out to you. There's an exception that Deja Vu Paradise would fall into. And that can be-
If it's beyond the setback, if it's beyond that setback,
So
then it's not affected,
So on page 55 of your agenda packet, number 16 of the exemptions would allow Deja Vu Paradise to continue displaying the way they're displaying because they're in an enclosed exterior
Okay.
area, right?
Yeah. I knew what the problem was, and some of the ones you showed, and there's some new ones,
Yes.
you know, or what the problem, what the complaints I've been getting were about. Nobody was
That's-
complaining
that's
about
what made it,
Salvation Army
yeah.
or Deja Vu or any of those ones that were like that.
And that's what made it very challenging
Yeah.
for the committee. Vice Mayor Bolin and I were on that with, citizens and a planning commissioner, and it was challenging to address kind of concerns without hurting the, businesses that,
The other question then would be like, the other one we showed that's been that way for years is Paradise Surplus.
Right.
He's been,
but
he's
they were involved in this process.
No, I understand, but I mean, here's somebody that displays 100% of their storefront, which is very small.
Right.
And it's set way back off, it's not in the
Right,
setback.
right.
Other than when he puts inner tubes out in the set. But,
So-
but they were involved, so I just, those are, I mean, so suddenly with this adopted, he'll have to change his,
They'll have to change that. There's still a safety valve in place, and that's the outdoor special sales that can be conducted for 21 days a year.
when he is outside of the downtown area.
That's right.
Right, so, yeah, and I think they've been involved all the way along on this.
From the
and they-
beginning.
Yeah, from the
That
beginning.
was his recommendation, actually.
Yeah, and that was their recommendation, and they saw, they were well aware of the problem created by people that weren't being good stewards of the community, so to speak, how they were
10
displaying
feet
things.
deep, but the entire length.
That's correct.
Because I know there's a new one that's a real eyesore in town on Upper Sky. And, so if this passes and becomes the new law, then they're still going to be able to put that junk along the whole frontage
Within 10 feet of the building.
10 feet deep.
Well, the other issue that particular land use has presented to us is that a portion of that property is not zoned commercially. And as such, the sales activities have fallen into the garage sale regulations in our code. And by our estimation, those limitations have been exceeded. So our code enforcement staff paid a visit to them today to try to straighten that out.
Well, and sometimes we have to tweak things. I think, we've worked pretty well to get this to a point that the planning commission liked it, the merchants were good with it. The community is, and it may not be perfect the first time around. We may have to make some changes down the road, and if we see that, we can do that.
It was a really difficult task. It was a difficult challenge. And I really personally appreciate the fact that business was involved. Cross-section of people. It was not government making a decision. Consulted with the business owners and that were going to be affected by it. And that was, I think,
And I think the business owners that we met with were as concerned or more about how things looked because of the image it created for the town. Doesn't give anybody a good name when.
Right.
Look,
In fact, it was their idea to add the purpose there, under A, the purpose of the regulations
Right.
affecting the displays, so that they have an appearance designed to attract and promote business and to avoid random placement of merchandise that lacks thematic continuity. So
yeah,
that was
and
their
so I want
wording.
to thank those merchants that were involved, people from Consignment and Secondhand Sally's and Paradise Surplus, and I'm probably leaving somebody else out of it. I think
There,
Paradise Blue, and Randy's Solenvac, he was involved at the point. So there was a number of people that came and gave their input, so we appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to open this up to the public. This is a public hearing. Do we have any cards on this item?
I have one card from Mort Habriel.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Madam Manager, Mayor. Just a couple of things. People know that I come here and they say, well, would you say something on my behalf? Not that I like passing on secondhand information, but there's a couple of things about this. First, we appreciate the safety factor. When the sidewalk is clogged up with merchandise, that is an issue. However, my personal experience is, having talked to managers of businesses who have done that, they are glad to remove something if it's brought to their attention that it's a public safety issue blocking the sidewalk. So I don't see that that's a big issue unless we are finding that we want to blame them without giving them a chance to correct it. So I have a problem with that, in at least two places that I found. However, one where I was rejected was at Mijo's. Mijo's has a barbecue directly next to the sidewalk. I followed a woman with a toddler in a carriage who, as the toddler put his hand out from the carriage, was this close to getting burned by the edge of that barbecue. I'm right behind him, and when I got to I said, you know, you should move this back. Do you see that little boy? And he goes, no, I didn't. I said, well, he almost burned his hand. You should move this back. And he said, well, I'm not moving it. It's fine right where it is. That is a safety issue, and that bothered me. The response bothered me. I don't think most merchants are like that. I think most merchants, if you bring it to their attention that there's a problem, they'll take care of it. That's pretty straightforward. I do think, though, that we need to think that if we enact this and that there's some negative feedback, down the road we need to look at some adjustments so that for some certain businesses, if they were to apply for a change, that there'd be a way to grant that, an exemption. If I had a business, I'd want to look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, any other cards? Anybody else from the public want to comment on this item? Wentland.
Thank you, Dan Wetland. Representing the Planning Commission, yes, you know too that we dealt with it at length and it was an interesting process. Several of the people that you mentioned are at present and will continue to be illegal, and they know that. But it's just going to be difficult because the one that you mentioned, they're completely illegal all the time and will continue to be illegal with this enactment.
The Upper Skyway you're talking about? Yeah.
But they are hoping that because it's complaint-driven and nobody has ever complained about them, and there are actually several others that are dealing with the same issue, they are going to be illegal. And they just are hoping that nobody turns them in because it's very tasteful. They have been tasteful with it, and that's the reason for no complaints. But they know that when this is enacted, they're going to be illegal. And they have just said, we'll cross that bridge when it happens. And that's the reason. It was Commissioner Clarkson that had the idea to put in the purpose. And we kind of tossed that around. We weren't sure if that was a smart thing, but we thought that we would give it kind of like a preamble to tell the person, describe to them from the beginning, this is what our goal is. Our goal is to achieve an aesthetically pleasing display. Again, you can't put teeth in pleasing, as we know. And some of the people, and already it's interesting what you said, Ward, that several of the people already have either gone out of business, and we know that that's happened, and that's partially a result of all of this discussion, because people dropped in and talked to them and told them, this is ugly, you got to get rid of it, and they went out of business. And also, some of the others that are still in business have pared back substantially just because of the discussion. I went and talked to two or three of them 2 or 3 times and said, you got to clean it up, you got to clean it up, and they did. And so I personally, my opinion is that if you talk to people, generally they will cooperate. And I hated to see one more rule that makes a fair number of people illegal who still are doing a good job. How that turns out. And thank you for mentioning that it is something that we might have to visit again. But as you know, it's going to be tough because what works for one person doesn't work for another. Because having gone to at least 15 of those businesses and talked to them throughout this process, there are a couple of them that can't to comply with safety reasons, the only thing that they've got is beyond 10 feet, because the access to their building is a 6-foot sidewalk, and they have to put their stuff beyond that, so they will be illegal, but yet it's very tasteful. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out.
Okay, it was a challenging process, trying to come up with something to work with all the unique properties and buildings and lot sizes and shapes. Not easy, so may not be able to please everybody, but
Well, already
we're
it's-
making an attempt.
Yeah, already it's cleaned up.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
except
Some people have,
except for
and it
one.
gives us some teeth. And as you know, and the board is concerned about us, citing people. But as you know, they go out and pay a visit first and ask them to comply. We just issue citations without a visit, without a discussion, generally a warning letter and a second letter before things are taken care of. And some of this also addresses people that put displays of merchandise in the handicap parking spaces. And we have a merchant that continues to do that and ignores the regulations. So,
I don't know which one that is, but yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Dan. Anybody else in the audience? Tom, go ahead.
I can make a comment on this because I've seen downtown, there's secondhand stores all over the place. This is a good attempt. You did a good job writing it up. And I appreciate you having an eagle eye and spotting the same thing I saw. The Salvation Army's been there for years, places like that, the way they operate. But right downtown, we've had people, they've got a secondhand store, the stuff's on the sidewalk, they're parking vehicles, motor vehicles, motorcycles up on the sidewalk, blocking the sidewalks. That's totally illegal. Now, if you want complaints on it, I'll sign the first one, because but this complaint-driven thing is another thing that's nonsense. If you got an ordinance and you're not going to enforce it, don't even bother. Why waste everybody's time? We got a fence ordinance that isn't being enforced either. I mean, we make ordinances to try to be reasonable with it and enforce them, and give the people a warning. That's fine. And I think you're doing a darn good job. This is a good attempt for cleaning up the downtown. Thank you very much.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Well, it's impossible to please all the people all the time. And, but I'd like to recognize the Planning Commission and the mayor, the vice mayor, and all of those people who worked on this project. A lot of work went into it. And I think what they came up with is a workable parameter that, like Ward was saying, most of the business people will be more than happy to cooperate. But it's necessary to have this because we do have that responsibility to maintain a walking area on the sidewalk. We do have that. We can't have a motorcycle sitting on the sidewalk for sale in a use type situation. So I think this is workable, and a lot of work went into it, and I believe there are kudos for all the work they put on it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it work.
I'm equally impressed at the compromise that the Planning Commission reached and the fact that the business owners all participated. It seems to me to be reasonable regulation.
Olson, do you have anything?
I move adoption of,
Ordinance 546.
Second.
Waive reading.
waive reading, all of those words.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion by Culleton and a second by Rawlings to introduce ordinance 546 and read by title only and waive reading of the entire ordinance. Roll call.
The roll call. Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings?
Aye.
Mayor Lauder?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, item 6 is public communication. This is time for members of the public that would like to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Council is prohibited by law from taking action on any item presented not listed on the agenda. Do we have some cards for 6?
I have 2 cards. My first card is from Ward Haber.
You know, one of my pet peeves is blight, and those people who respond to me and say, if you're going, would you say something about? I understood earlier, though, that Mr. Baker may have something to say about one of my favorite ones, and that's Egg Roll Express. By the way, the graffiti on the side of the building is gone. Did anybody notice that? Yeah, it got covered up, yeah. It didn't cost the town anything, did it, Craig? Some private citizen took care of it, I guess. It's amazing how that happened, huh?
If that private citizen still has that spray can, if they still have
Yeah,
that
but it's
spray
still on
can.
Hollywood video.
Yeah, the old video store across the street still has some.
I've got a spray can.
Well, there's been some comments about that, but no action yet. I'm still not sure how that happens. However, one of the ladies in the garden club who lives not far from the diagonal of Stratton's Market has reminded me, somebody's got to do something about that property, because that outbuilding behind the house, the roof collapse has gotten worse. It's now gone into itself. It just plain looks horrible and doesn't get any attention. So that's a pet peeve. 2 weeks ago, Paul Durer brought it to my attention that there's an issue with the appearance of the triangle at Elliott, which the Paradise Garden Club does maintenance of the plants on, but not maintenance of the water system. And he said that 2 months ago, the town, one of his staff, had replaced the timer. We had a work party go there this morning, so I could report back. Is Paul here?
No.
Well, wanted to let him know, and you know, yes, we will maintain that. The plants, the choice of plants, the planting, the weeding, etc. But there's nobody in the town beautification group from the Paradise Garden Club that knows anything about plumbers or sprinkler maintenance or anything like that. So the fact that it was replaced but not in an on position caused a lot of the plants to die. They discovered that this morning. So this morning, when they finished the weeding and turned the system on, part of it works, but not all of it. So we would appeal on behalf of the Paradise Garden Club Incorporated to the town that since we can take care of the plants and keep it somewhat beautiful, the town's got to do something about keeping the plumbing working. I know we want to save money during a drought, but if the whole thing doesn't work, we're only going to have half of that beautiful and the other half with dead plants in it. So on behalf of the Garden Club, I'm just reporting that to you. Thank you for your time.
Tom Kelly.
Sit in the front row so you don't have to walk so far, will you?
I'm
I'm looking out
I'm
for
gonna be
you.
sitting up here next. But what I have some things that I want to comment on tonight. First of all, general operation of the town has been very good. I appreciate every one of you working hard. I'm never going to agree with all of you at all the time, but I'm glad you're doing your job, which you are doing. And firemen are here tonight. Police is here. The police is doing a good job. I don't know where the firemen are, but they've been working their tail off this last week. There's been 6 fires that seriously threaten this town. We had a fire right here on Honey Run. If you just drive down Honey Run, you'll see it. 5-minute response time. 5 minutes is what we've got here, so it's working. Fire safety, that's the number one. Second thing, the bridges out of town, fire escape routes. Federal government is going to build a new bridge on Dome Mill. They've already started the work. The contract has been let, but who knows when they're going to start. I mean, I've been on that project for 5 years, and that's how long I filed the EPA report. We did the road, and they were starting. The road is going to be closed totally. A brand new bridge, 127-foot bridge, 30 feet wide, 50-ton bridge is going to be built there. But that road is going to be closed, and I hope they get it done after the fire season, because right now at least we can drive cars across it. The other road through Butte Meadows is done, and so that road is open. Whiskey Flat Bridge is going to be redecked, but the road to Whiskey Flats is a contentious issue. Nobody is planning to do any work on it. We're still trying to get a grant for that part of the road from Kootling down to the bridge, and from the other part all the way to Concow. This is part of Ponderosa Way. It's a government road. It was put in there in 1931. We can prove that, but we're still working on getting that thing done. We've got something in the mail. For your information, I'm a member of the Paradise Fire Safe Council, which is a unit of this town, and I'm also I've just got appointed to the executive board of Butte County Fire Safe Council, and I'm a member of the National Fire Protection Association, this organization, which writes all the rules. We have a serious issue in town with fire insurance being canceled in this town. A lot of properties. They're canceling fire insurance. They're doubling the cost of fire insurance to houses. The issue is they're using Google Earth map data to evaluate the properties. They're not even going out and looking at the properties. They've established a line at 1,500 feet. If you're below 1,500 feet, they're writing property insurance. If they're above 1,500 feet, they're canceling the insurance, or they're writing a policy one day and canceling the next. My policy went up over 300%, and I turned right around and went to Geico, and I got a policy in 15 minutes for basically the same price. But some people are getting percentages that are going 300-400% or being canceled, and this is a very serious issue because especially I don't have to worry about mine because my house is totally paid for. But people trying to buy a property or renting, or in the process of paying a mortgage, getting the mortgage, getting the thing canceled. Well, the banks are insisting that you have it covered. Well, where are you going to get coverage? The issue is being addressed by the National Fire Protection Association, by a state senator who's running for the insurance commissioner on the next election, and the Butte County Fire Safe Council is also working on this issue because we found that the data that they're using is false. They have us listed as a wildland fire area, and we are not a wildland fire area. We are surrounded by wildland areas. We are a forest area. We have streets that are 30 feet wide, 20 feet wide. We have a lot of individual private streets, but in general, through the town, they're very well maintained, and you can't see it because of the canopy. When they fly over, they're taking photographs from the air. They can't see what's out there. They do not know that the PID has, in the last 10 years, they have engineered their drawings, so now they know where all the hydrants are. 10 years ago, they didn't know. They really didn't, but now they do. And so we have very good engineering done in town. You got a town engineer; he's doing a good job too. But these are the things that are. I mean, it really concern us. If you get your fire insurance canceled, and there's no reason for it. Because what they were doing is they're using Google Earth maps that you can't see what's under there. My house is on a 20-foot paved street, 192 feet from the nearest hydrant. They carry 500 feet of hose, and they say that I'm in a wildland fire area with a brush all around. There's no brush out there on Oliver and Valley View, thanks to Paul Durr is not here tonight. Public Works Department. They went and they took all the brush, the Scotch broom on Oliver, all the way down to the corner of Valley View, cleaned it all out. They did a great job. All over town they're doing that kind of stuff. And we never see it unless you live right there. But this is one of the things that they are doing. And thank we got guys in the town that are doing that kind of stuff. We're going to be putting something on the Skyway that's involved safe rural schools for children, the sidewalks for children. Put it on your agenda for build a sidewalk down Oliver from the Jack in the Box down to Valley View. I've looked at the preliminary engineering. It can be done. This is one of the things that can be done. I've talked about the cancellation of insurance, but one thing, here's one of the things we can do that doesn't cost this town one dime. We're already ahead of it. Nationally, you might have heard the term Firewise community. All right. The Firewise communities all over the United States have started up. They get insurance rates, higher insurance rating if they're a Firewise community. They're generally smaller areas. On the National Fire Protection Association, I've talked to the directors there, so we can be called a Firewise community, but on a bigger basis, it's called a fire-adapted community. It does not cost a dime to the town of Paradise. We have already done all the work that needs to be done. We've established a fire department. We have planning. We have building fire breaks. All this work has been done that they required. We just have to certify it. And not one dime of cost. We will be working on that for the town. To get this, once we get the fire adapted rating, we will have another good thing to throw at this crazy insurance companies that are canceling the policies. Because our ISO rating still hasn't changed. We have a very high ISO rating, but the insurance companies don't go by that. They go by this other a new system that they came with, Google Earth. And that's the one we're fighting.
You're going a little long over the 3 minutes, Tom.
All right.
But since you're updating us on the Fire Safe Council,
but this is it.
I'm deferring to you.
I'm just saying the last thing I want to say, we have water, big issue. State Water Control Board has been trying to cancel the water rights which were established in 1914. Those rights have been established. We have a very good relationship with the State Water Control Board because we have the largest on-site district in the United States, and we have our own independent rating here for them. And this is a big issue for the town. They take away our water, we won't even have a town. But so this is another thing to start backing that up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else from the audience that? Okay. Then I'm going to move on to item 7A, consider options relating to the pending vacancy on the Paradise Planning Commission and appoint from the two candidates recently interviewed or direct staff to continue to recruit. So
I'll go ahead
Or
and do
are you
this
gonna-
one. The efforts, as you know, to fill the vacancies on the Planning Commission has been ongoing since February 2014. And we did receive 2 applications, and I believe we had a committee that met with those. We talked about this at the last meeting, and I believe the recommendation was to bring this back to the council at this time to decide what actually we want to do with that. It is staff's recommendation at this point to recommend to keep the Planning Commission intact as it is and select from the 2 applicants that were recently interviewed.
And I got a call from Vice Mayor Bolin because he had planned on being here and he had met and he had a recommendation for me, so I can pass on his thoughts too when we're ready to discuss that. Jody, do you have?
After thinking about this, one of the things we asked last time was what was the cost of the Planning Commission? Fairly innocuous number, $20,000 for the entire year. We're not going to save a whole lot for our budget by eliminating the Planning Commission. I'm not really in favor of that. I think that the Commission's so upon further reflection, I would like to name Martin Nichols to the
And that was Mayor or Vice Mayor Bolin's recommendation. And Woody, you have something to add?
Well, no, when this first came around, the first go around, and when we only had one applicant, different governmental capacities, and I was all for appointing him at that time. I mean, you know, and we said, no, let's go back out and advertise again. And got one more applicant, you know, so I would support that completely. I was my choice with, and, you know, I made the comment at the last meeting when this, you know,
Dilemma.
dilemma, yeah, that, well, then maybe let's go back and, you know, eliminating the thing. You know, when that was a discussion item a few months ago, I was one of the people that argued vehemently to keep comment to the last frustration. To me, it's like when we have, there's no real criteria. Some of our committees and commissions, we say, I need a botanist, or I needed this or that. If we have citizens that are willing to put in the time, a lot of us that get elected to sit in these seats have no prior experience being elected officials. So we learn. And there's a learning curve. And so, you know, I think just the fact that people are willing to fill out the paperwork and deal, at them, but, you know, I don't know. I'll support.
John, do you have any input?
Yes, I would, I would like not to do away with the planning commission. I think the planning commission does an excellent job, and I do support Mr. Nichols as well.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. I make a motion that we appoint Martin Nichols to fill this vacant seat on the planning commission.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Culleton and a second by Rollins. I don't think do we need a roll call on that? Oh,
Yeah, we do.
yes, actually, I have a copy of his, he has his BA in Political Science and Public Administration, and he has 40 years of experience in California local government experience. He was, I've known him to be the city manager of Red Bluff. He was CAO for Butte County, or acting CAO, and let's see if I've got all the, he has extensive experience, and so he knows planning well, he knows how a planning commission functions, and he understands the California laws through his experience, extensive experience. So, like I say,
We have copies available here for the public.
yeah, and
you'd like one.
if you'd like to review it, we do have that available.
He's sitting right there. You could ask him.
You can, Martin, do you want to come up and say anything? Yeah, we haven't voted yet.
No, I mean, you know, lady asked, and you would be.
I'd be happy to. As you summarized my resume, I've got 40 years of experience in California local government, including being the CAO of Butte County, the Marin County, Lassen County, the city manager of Red Bluff. I was a lobbyist. I've been a number of things in California.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your confidence in the opportunity to serve the town, and I'll give you my very best efforts.
So he, Martin is a local resident, and we're fortunate to have somebody with his education and experience that's interested in serving the community. With that, roll call. Do we need a roll call, or is it just voice vote on that?
Roll call.
Okay.
And the term will expire June 30th, 2017.
Okay.
So
And then
it's
he'll
almost
be
a four-year
sworn in at
term.
the next
planning commission
next planning
meeting.
commission meeting. Okay, that's
Okay.
always good to clarify that.
Okay, Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings?
Aye.
And Mayor Lauder.
Okay, so we have dealt with with that. We'll move on to item 7B, consider adopting Resolution 1436, resolution adopting the Butte County Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. The plan is eligible for Final approval by FEMA pending its adoption by Butte County and all participating jurisdictions.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a multi-jurisdictional effort. This is actually the draft that's available for public review. I almost dropped it on my shelf and killed it. The Town of Paradise actually has one of the annexes in this document, and what it does is it looks at the mitigations and hazards that may occur in the county and the plans to, in the town specifically, but also in the entire county, and how to address those. We had the jurisdictions of Butte County, City of Biggs, City of Chico, Gridley, Oroville, the Town of Paradise, PID, and the Thermalito Water District, all in there that have addressed actually mitigations for hazards that may occur. And this is also a tool not only for planning, but a tool that we can use to receive federal funding when available, for instance, for fire breaks and other things that could be useful for the town.
So beyond wildfire, were there, in that binder,
Weather was
What
one
were-
of them, severe weather. There were storms, for instance. There was the dam breaking, flooding. Those are the major breaks. And
okay?
water, obviously, droughts and high fire hazard.
I think
those two
everybody
things
in
were occurring
California
right
is-
now.
You know,
Yeah.
just for the audience's sake, one of the things from when we participate in the emergency countywide one of the things they talk about that is going to impact people like us, if there's a major earthquake in San Francisco, a major catastrophe, our police and fire, a lot of people are going to be. So this plan also incorporates those kinds of planning and
That's a good point, and I should probably address the goals here for the good of the
Yeah, we'd
the
like to
public.
hear that.
So the goal, the first goal is to minimize risk and vulnerability of the community to hazards and to reduce damages and protect lives, property, and public health. The second goal is to provide protection for critical facilities, infrastructures, and services from hazard impacts so that we can have a continuity of services. The third goal is to increase public awareness of the risk and vulnerability of the community to hazards. Number 4 is to increase the community's ability to be prepared for a disastrous event. Goal number 5, increase interagency coordination and develop interagency mitigation and disaster response capabilities for all priority hazards. And number 6, to maintain FEMA eligibility and position for funding. So if anyone would like to read that, that's available at the clerk's office at any time to take out and review.
pages are in that report.
It's huge, but the town's annex is actually very small. Easy to
787
read.
pages or something.
Okay, do we have any cards on this item?
One card from Tom Kelly.
Kelly, what a surprise. Okay, you already, you used up your 3 minutes earlier, so we'll give you.
I'll take my 3 minutes this time. The state fire plan was 72 pages. It came in on a CD, and I read every page of it thoroughly. The responsibility is exactly what she's going through right there, but they've pretty well addressed all the hazards in town and how they're going to operate in case of biological explosions and other kind of things. All the gas stations, fire, that's the kind of things you never think of every day, but they're addressed in this fire plan. And it's part of the state fire plan too. So they ask, at the very end of it, they look for, other resources, money. So it was a well-done plan, and I think you've all done a good job on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments from the public on this item? Okay, I'll return it to the council for discussion and action.
Move approval?
We have a motion by Jones, second by Culleton, to adopt ordinance 1436.
And the vote is, Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Culleton? Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlings?
Aye.
Mayor Lauter?
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item 7C, adopt resolution 1437, a resolution updating the council member handbook previously approved on resolution 804.
And this item will be presented by Joanna Gutierrez, our town clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This information is most likely to be a refresher course for most of you, so I summarized it up in this PowerPoint. The goal in updating the handbook was, number one, we removed all the information that was relating to the redevelopment agency, and we inserted some discussion about the successor agency, and we also inserted the CAL FIRE resolution that approved the contract. I think we also updated all the positions in the that the town manager supervises. So tonight I present to you the Town of Paradise Council Members Handbook. The handbook has a narrative. It discusses the organizational structure of our town government, the roles and responsibilities of the various department heads, also the roles and responsibilities of the council members, relationships between council members and their staff, policy documents that support how we operate, and also references to local and state law that govern how the town council operates the town. Purpose, it's a reference manual and a guide for conduct as an elected official. Government structure, we have an elected board of directors. 5 members are elected at large to serve 4-year terms as town council members. The council appoints 3 department heads to answer directly to them. That is the town manager, the town attorney, and the town clerk. And then the town manager appoints department heads with the approval of the town council. The document also discusses the various roles and relationships, again, between the council and their manager, and the council and the staff. The Town of Paradise was incorporated November 27th, 1979 as a general law city. That means we operate under the, I guess the word is the auspices of the California state law. This is 29 codes, 29 subject matters. Each code, for instance, the government code is 33 volumes. We have 33 books in our office, and that's just one code. From business to welfare, and everything in between. So much to know thereof. Our town council, our 5-member board of directors, their legislative authority, they set law, which we codify into the Paradise Municipal Code. We introduce the legislation at one meeting, and then there's a second reading that can't be done less than 5 days after introduction, and an ordinance must be adopted at a public meeting. The town council also can take legislative action by minute order and by resolution. The town council is a decision maker for the community, and we operate under a council manager form of government. Town council takes actions by adopting ordinances, adopting resolutions, and by minute order. All actions must be taken at a public meeting. And there's probably a volume of how transparency must be accomplished by the local government. Council manager form of government. We have our community decision makers who set policy that serves the needs of the community. Our policymakers are elected at large. The decision makers hire a professional operations manager. The town manager is hired to guide the council and to direct the staff in setting objectives and accomplishing the goals of the town council. The town manager is directly appointed by the town council. The town council also is responsible for their code of conduct and ethics. The code of conduct is set forth in the government code through the Political Reform Act of 1974 and also through the Brown Act, which sets out the open meeting laws. Conduct and ethics are governed by law, and they're also governed by choice. The law mandates the types of financial disclosures that are required. They also require the campaign disclosures that are filed in Sacramento with the Fair Political Practices Commission. Council members have personal opinions, and they also have opinions expressed in the public debate. Council members have influence but no legislative authority as one person. Legislation can only be accomplished by a majority of the town council in a public meeting. Every council member and each appointed planning commissioner is required to take an ethics class and present to the town clerk an ethics certification. So conduct and ethics are both apply to an individual, and they apply to the elected body. Relationships: the town council appoints a mayor amongst its 5 elected members to serve as the presiding chair of council meetings. The mayor is responsible for maintaining order. The mayor is also responsible to represent the town council at community events as the ceremonial head of the town, and the mayor executes official town documents, and he signs checks. The town council appoints a town manager. The town manager directs the day-to-day operations of the town, and the town manager is there for consultation with individual council members. Council member consults with the staff must be authorized by the town manager. Council members are to consult directly with the town manager on all matters relating to concerns brought to the council members by the public or regarding policy or projects. The council also has a relationship with their citizens who come to the town council meetings. They also meet people out in the community. They also have a relationship with the citizens they appoint to serve on committees and commissions, and also with the media. And to summarize, again, our council member handbook serves as a guide. It has a narrative. It discusses our organizational structure, the roles and responsibilities, relationships, policy documents, as well as references to local and state law. Request tonight is that you discuss the purpose and intent of the council member handbook, direct edits and amendments, adopt a resolution approving the handbook, or provide direction to staff relating to content and bring back at a future meeting for adoption. That's it.
Thank you, Joanna. Comments from the council, or would you like me to open it up to public first? And any cards on this item?
No cards.
Anybody in the audience wanted to talk about it? Oh. Council will. Sure. John, go ahead.
I've got a question on page 122, paragraph D.
Council-appointed commissions and committees.
Right.
Council has authority to form citizen committees to assist them in their decision-making process.
The question I have is regarding, in some cases, have their principal town of Paradise, or in some cases, have their principal place of business within the town. Talking about businesses here. We discussed that issue, but it was another committee for another purpose, and I understand that. But what I was trying to do, what I was thinking of is, I think it should be a Paradise resident. I mean, authority to assist them in their decision-making process in order to encourage a base consideration of appointees to boards of commissions. All persons desiring to be considered for appointment shall complete at least one application for each board or commission on which person desires to serve, and shall be a full-time resident, registered voter of the town of Paradise, or in some cases have their principal place of business within the town. I believe they ought to be just a resident of Paradise. And you may have a business in Chico, but I don't think that you should be down there making recommendations on who's in the committee serving that town. And I think that you, in order to serve this town on any committee, you should be a resident of our town.
I think, you know, for example, when we asked for merchants to help us out drafting the ordinance, they had a business here on display, we didn't say, gee, well, you live in Magalia, we're not going to listen to your input regarding business regulations because you live in Magalia. So sometimes it's an ad hoc committee, and I think it's appropriate to have, and you're going to have situations where you have a property owner that owns a large amount of property that might live out of town but has some valuable input. So I'd like to leave it flexible, but I don't think, since this is a handbook, it doesn't have the effect of, I mean, maybe the...
No, the council has the,
It's not a law.
It's not a law.
Well,
So,
I
so
understand
it's,
that.
I think it's guidance for us, and it does say in some cases.
Right. Let me give you an example where this is important to have that in there. Tree committee, whether you're for or against it, we have specific people that make up that committee. One of them is
Arborist.
an arborist. Okay, it says you have, in some cases, you have to have your principal business in the town of Paradise. So we have an arborist that his tree service is here in Paradise, but he might live in Magalia. Yet there's nobody that lives in town. I mean, there's situations, and it says, in some cases, so it uses that flexibility. This whole idea of like, if you don't live here, you can't be on any committee.
Well, it's just an idea that was talked about the other night in another situation, and I understand the difference between the two. I just saw it when I was reading it, and that thought struck me as being contrary to what we were talking about on the other committee. So I understand too that it's not a law. So if you guys think that
I think it's good. I think it's good to raise the thing for discussion.
Was the sales tax and the oversight committee. That's the other thing we were talking about.
I know that.
Where we were specific. And I think that in that application, we needed to be specific.
Yeah, well, me too. I just didn't mention what it was, but it was that the sales tax, and we are going to appoint a committee as an overseer, ad hoc committee. But what I was talking about was the general purpose of this one. I mean, if you have people owning property here, then that would make sense to have them on the committees. But just because they have a business here, I was questioning that because we questioned it the other night.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. I mean, we don't need to be kicking a dead horse. If you guys think that the flexibility is needed, I just want to bring it out there as a matter of it catching my eye when I read it.
I think that's a good point, John. But leaves it open for us. Jones, do you have any comment on that item?
I agree that we should have the flexibility. I can think of a couple situations where we might want that. I do have one other item. Joanna covered ethics and conflicts of interest in the PowerPoint, and there are some attachments, but in the introductory narrative for the handbook, ethics and conflict of interest are not mentioned. And I passed out to everyone a suggested addition to that section of the handbook. And I'd like to see this added. Woody noted that there's an error in it. In the second to the last paragraph, it says all council members are also required to complete annual ethics training, and it's every 2 years. So I'd like to make that change. Joanna has extra copies if there's anyone in the audience who wants to look at it.
What page would this go on?
We're in 118, 116, 118, general area.
So I didn't specify exactly where it should go, but I do think it should be in the narrative up front.
yeah, well, that's, we have a section, the way we've designed the handbook, it's put in a notebook with various sections so we can insert things at any time. And we have a section that talks about local conflict code, and the town council every 2 years reviews and updates its conflict of interest code as it relates to employees, because council members and planning commissioners are required to do certain filings with the FPPC. So we could put that document in that section or create a new section.
I don't want it in that section. I want it in the introduction up front, the narrative section that has,
okay.
starting with page 118 and going through page, kind of a summary of the things that you would have in the section you're talking about. So going through
I
page
think,
132.
I think it's important enough to make it item 2 and move all the other Roman numerals down.
Okay.
Are you in agreement with me? So right after the introduction?
I like that. I think it should be
I
right
think
up
it
front.
is kind of the premier thing that we need to, before you start reading all the other stuff and the history of the town, to know that and.
About transparency.
Exactly. Clerk, we used to have the overhead camera. Does that no longer work with our new system? So that I didn't know if it was still there. Does it still work? Because if somebody wanted to see what this looked like, we can put the camera up and take a picture of it so that the audience is able to see what we're. Audience, if we're discussing something and wordsmithing something and you want to be able to see what we're talking about, don't hesitate to point out to us that you'd like to see that, because this does save us having to print a bazillion copies. Yeah, they can zoom once they get it placed. Kind of like the old-fashioned overhead projectors that the teachers used to. Doesn't that zoom in a little bit too? I thought there was a zoom button on it. It's on the upper portion on the camera.
Yeah, this it's an excellent summary. Generally speaking, it talks about the 3 categories of legal requirements relating to public official ethics. These are laws designed to prevent public officials' personal financial interests from influencing public agency decisions, laws limiting personal advantages and perks relating to public office, and laws relating to open government, fair processes, and impartial decision-making. Those are the 3 legal requirements. And then there's also 4 core principles that helps to guide decisions and actions, and those relate to the following. Public officials may not use their offices for personal financial gain. Holding public office does not entitle one to personal advantages or perks. Transparency promotes public trust and confidence. Merit-based decision-making based on fair processes produce the best results for the public.
I think the buttons are actually down on the stand.
On the mic. Duct tape now.
Or, yeah, there we go. I knew there was. See, I've played with it before, so I know how it works. It took an engineer to. Okay.
I thought that the last paragraph was, I tried to kind of summarize the laws up front, but the last paragraph talks about those laws being only minimum standards, and that all of us should strive to avoid the perception of impropriety in our conduct and decision-making, and I thought that was important also.
I promise for the next meeting we'll have the camera set so that we can just put a document there and you'll be able to see. Sorry, I should have given them some advance warning.
Make some extra copies, so I think there's.
Yeah, there's copies, and we can read it. Turn the piece of paper? Oh, okay. Okay. We'll get a clipboard next time. Hey, we're high-tech here. Okay. So anybody want to see a copy of it? Like I say, I'm sorry that we're having a technical difficulty being able to read it, but we do have this technology available, which is handy. Okay, I think, is the council in concurrence? We'll insert that as Roman numeral 2.
Make the correct.
Next meeting will be perfect. Our sound's gotten better, more scratchiness.
So I would move that we approve the handbook with the addition.
Okay,
I have one change on page 120 where it says town attorney. Town attorney is not a contract employee,
they're a contractor.
contractor,
Okay.
which is a vast difference.
So we'll make that change. Town attorney is a independent contractor. And would it be do you say hired by the town council?
That is there.
Okay.
It says, and is appointed by the town council.
Okay,
But I'm not a contract. Benefits.
Since we've updated these.
Yes.
okay. Do you have that change then,
Got it?
Ms. Gutierrez? Okay. Sure, I'd opened it up earlier for public comment, but I'll do it again. Go ahead.
But it does raise a good question. Now that the public is aware of this, is there a way for the public to bring forth I think there is a suspicious circumstance here with one of our council members? What's the avenue to do that?
Go to the state FPPC file if you think
Fair
somebody.
Political Practices Committee.
Was
is-
it Attorney General's office, or? That's where you if you think something's going wrong, somebody's.
Yeah. You don't
Although
address the person personally?
on a less formal basis, you can ask the town attorney for an opinion.
Okay.
I think, wouldn't that be the proper
You
procedure?
can bring it to me or take it to the Fair Political Practices
Yeah.
Commission, but normally if it's something clarified, you might want to bring it here first and have us try to
I can't
clarify
see
it.
us
If we
creating a
can't
whole set of
clarify it-
forms to hand out to all the citizens of the town to send things to the Fair Political Practice Commission. Gosh, we don't want to be doing that.
And frankly,
You're not filling out forms.
yeah.
And you can always address your council members one-on-one at any time on any
Okay.
subject.
And we do have people that will bring something to another council member's attention. Is this a conflict that this person, board member, commissioner has, and then we take the necessary steps.
But considering who's sitting here now, it's never going to occur, right? You're nodding yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Well, the
Thank
Beaver County Grand Jury also receives complaints.
Yeah.
And Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor,
sure.
Mr.
Butte
Mayor,
County
we have
Grand
extensive
Ward-
information on file in the clerk's office that has come from the FPPC. We have it already in hard
Yeah,
copy form.
so if you had a question about something, whether the clerk is a good reference for that, whether you need to go forward with a formal complaint. And as Mr. Rollins pointed out, if it's not something that you get the FPPC involved in, sometimes the county grand jury is another place
But
to go to.
I would really suggest, if you have a real concern, talking to the town attorney, who,
Yeah, that'd be your first place.
Yeah, yeah.
because the ethics training that we take talks about, even if something is legal, if it smells bad, if it looks bad, that you got there's an ethical issue there. And so that's where it gets,
Okay.
They
so-
also have a website that's very easy to navigate. And if you have any questions, just give me a call and I can help guide you through the site.
word that's spelled C-U-L, no, I'm just kidding.
Now, when we had talked about this in our previous meetings, again, the need for this, we talked about including planning commissioners, or having a code of ethics for planning commissioners. Are we taking some steps to do the same thing, or do we need direct
The planning commissioners are under the same set of
Under-
rules as the council with regard to the FPPC filings and the ethics
understand
trainings.
that, but I want to make sure that we have our, if we need to have our own teeth,
Yep,
so to
well,
speak.
that's my question. Would you like to have us to bring you more information forward, or as an amendment, or as part of the whole handbook? 'Cause we can
I think I'd
certainly
like
amend it.
to see I personally would prefer to have a similar handbook for planning commissioners.
We do have a separate handbook that relates to committees and commissions, and
Okay.
I'll send you all a copy to review.
Okay, because I want to make sure that
That
we
was
have
also It's adopted by resolution. So we created that handbook to give to each committee member when they're appointed.
How long ago was it created?
At least, I don't remember, probably under 10 years ago.
So it might be ripe for,
Right for renewal,
up-
sure. I'll take a look
updating?
at that, yeah, I'll look at
Okay.
it.
Yeah, and with a focus on if inserting this same ethics and conflict of interest items where applicable.
I'll bring it to the next meeting.
For us. Thank you. So, we need to take a vote on this. We had
a motion and.
we had a motion and a second,
Who
and
was
then we
the
had some
second?
public oh, I'm sorry. Motion
second it.
and a second by Mr. Rawlings, and then we need a roll call vote.
Okay, and we're adopting Resolution 1437.
Correct.
And the roll call, of course, Vice Mayor Boland is still absent, and Councilmember Rawlings? Councilmember Culleton, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I thought you said,
I
I'm
was-
sorry.
Culleton? Jones?
aye.
Rawlings?
Aye.
Mayor Lauter?
Aye, thank you. Okay, on to council oral reports. Representation on committees and commissions. Like to start? Who's ready? John?
Got a real short one. I didn't attend any committee meetings for this meeting. However, I'd just like to say that we had a real good 4th of July, and I assisted and represented the town in putting the flags out on Skyway with the Elks Lodge, and it was quite fun being out there helping them.
Appreciate you doing that, John. Thank you. I liked the pictures, a lot of the pictures that I saw
Oh,
posted of that. Okay, Mr. Culleton?
I didn't make it to the Air Quality Board this month because I was on my attending the board meeting. I will be attending the board meeting, the county board meeting, as they move forward on franchising the county for garbage service. Because their consultant is suggesting a plan that will still have 2 separate garbage companies driving through the streets of Paradise to service the little community of McGill. Tears up our roads and is not.
When's the date of that one?
It's been ongoing. They just.
Those are usually on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah, they usually
County board.
present Tuesday.
Uh,
Check the agenda.
Okay. Mrs. Jones?
Last council meeting. I did attend the swearing in of Officer Aiken, which was very nice. It was nice to be able to fill a vacancy. And I went to the party in the park last Thursday, which was wonderful. And last week, I retired from Caltrans, and so now I have full-time availability for the town.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I went to a great retirement party for Jill at her and Ron's home and enjoyed that. Ended the swearing in of a new police officer and met all of his family. So that's exciting to get a new guy in training. And I was contacted by Jim Clarkson, who's one of our planning commissioners, also a local business owner, on behalf of Rotary. The Rotary Board had voted to support having an annual workday in town for community groups, and Rotary, as part of, Jim was committing to, part of it is coordinating different groups, service clubs and stuff, doing a work day in town, kind of in honor of people like Arlen Hudson, who donated every day of the week, and 35 years of cleaning up our streets. And although it could take an army, I don't know that they're going to be able to make a dent like Arlen has in our community for so long. And what I suggested to Jim is perhaps doing it, and what he's looking for is a resolution from the town identifying an annual work day, community work day in town, which I think is an outstanding idea. And I suggested perhaps the Make a Difference Day, which is a program that was started actually by USA Today, Weekend Magazine about 20 years ago, and it's recognized all over the country. And so it's kind of a good day to do things like that. And so if the council thinks it's something that we can support, I'd like to go forward with coming up with a resolution to have an annual work day.
Can we call it the Arlen Hudson Day?
I
that'd be great.
think that would be a fabulous, idea, because we need to do something to
Encourage all the community groups to get involved and.
churches, youth groups, service clubs, businesses, whoever want to. City employees, anybody that wants to, retired city employees, anybody that wants to get involved. I just think it'd be and usually by October, the weather is, not too bad. I said, well, you wouldn't want to do it in the summer, and tough to do, but I think it would be great. People like, I'm sure the garden club would love to be, it's a great day to get people out there planting trees, planting daffodils, whatever it might be. So, fixing water pipes in the triangle, So,
Speaking of which, we have Dan Wentland, who has volunteered, and I know he's cringing right now because he likes to do things anonymously, but he has volunteered to paint the Help for People building next door for us, which is a huge job, and maybe even spill some paint over our way a little bit. So what a great thing. We do have a lot of great community members who do step up.
I haven't. When I suggested it to Jim, I didn't know what the date of it was, and I sent that. After that, I looked it up. This year, it's October 25th. So I think there's enough time that we can introduce this and get the thing up and running. I know the manager and Mr. Culleton are both Rotary members, as Mrs. Jones' husband, frequent guest there. So probably have. Rotary support. Does that sound good to everybody? I will work with the clerk and the manager and Rotary to.
The Arlen Hudson Memorial Community Beautification Day.
But it's not Memorial. The Arlen Hudson.
The Arlen Hudson Beautification Day.
Yeah,
That's right.
Arlen's still
No,
alive.
I know.
Don't be.
I know. I'm
he
sorry.
could-
Sorry, Arlen.
Yeah.
Golly gee.
Okay, but I think the Arlen Hudson Make a Difference Day. Paradise Make a Difference. I think that's a terrific idea. I think Jim will like that, and he helps take care of Arlen. Arlen recently, and we recognized it on our consent calendar, donated the 2 potted pine trees and flowers out by the front door, and those were.
Somebody pointed out at the Fire on the Ridge program the other night, they talked about having trees and bushes by your house.
Yeah,
But it's a cement
to help,
building.
yeah. Although that part of it's wood there. So, anyway, okay, great. Well, that's what I have for right now. Madam Manager, do you have anything to?
I do have a few items,
Okay.
and then I have
And we
also-
want to report. We want a report from.
We are going to have the report from,
Are we going to get a report from the police chief tonight? We had talked.
not tonight.
Not tonight.
But we will in the future. We are going to have a report from the Community Development Director
Although she
tonight.
told me she did report to me that the babies are really cute and they're making noises and very difficult to leave home in the morning. So there's the police chief's report.
Are adorable. So I did want to mention and report to the council that I attended a Butte County City Collaboration meeting yesterday at the county, and we met with the different city managers of all the cities and the county CAO, and Paul Hahn, as our county CAO, now does a lot of regional things and things with the cities and tries to help out as much as he can, which is very great, and he has a great staff. They're doing some tourism things and some efforts that I'd like to update the council on, and also some business-related things. Cities and counties are now putting some budgeting funds towards economic development again for a long time. That's been totally out of the budget and off the table. It certainly isn't back here yet with our budget, but I know that the county and the city of Chico both have started that up again. One of the things that the county is doing is they're updating their website, their branding for their city. But also, they said that their business website that they are now currently updating, that we can use any of the links or the information that they have provided on theirs to link with ours. One of the things that I would like to do is, after a comment made from Commissioner, or from Council Member Colleton last meeting regarding our website and where things were located on the website, I have directed staff to take a look at our website and to freshen that up, to make the business page a little bit more user-friendly, maybe get some commercial realtor links on there so that people looking for sites can actually link there and get on the MLS and look for available commercial properties. Also, as far as tourism, now this is another big effort that they're working on. The county recently completed a tourism study, if you will, that involved a lot of the different hoteliers, restaurant owners, and property owners within the county. And this is for, their effort was to make a map and also apps that people could get on their smartphone and find all the hiking trails, the bike trails, the motorcycle riding place, ag tourism, all the different things that there are to visit in town, the tourist attractions, and of course the lakes and the streams and the boating, the different things that people can do in the county. So part of that effort was that the hoteliers in the county wanted to get together and do a T-bid group where they establish an assessment district of themselves, of the hotels, and they maybe do a certain percent or 25 cent or some type of bed tax for that the hotels have control over, that it does not go to the town or to the TOT or to the cities. And then they can do whatever they want with that money as far as attracting and promoting tourism. So the county is asking for a little help with that, and I'll be bringing a proposal forward to the council at a future time. They have big plans for that efforts. Also, they did report on the Fig Tree PACE program, which is the program that allows businesses to do solar on their businesses, on their properties. We have a link on our website. The county has a link on their website. If any businesses are interested in that, that is a viable option. You can do that, and it's paid through property taxes a little bit at a time. So, so there's that option available to businesses to go solar, and it's working out for some businesses. And that is about it there. I am also attending a meeting in West Sacramento for the Sacramento Valley Division City Managers Area Group, where we meet with all of the city managers in the whole North State District. It's a very big area. And we're going to be discussing AB 109 and also successful city-county cooperative services. So again, regional thinking, and so that's a good thing. And with that, I guess I will ask Craig to go ahead and update us on our community development projects.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Just a quick update on some of our projects that we're working on or we've been working on. As you know, Dollar General is building a second store on Clark Road, adjacent to Kmart's. All development permits have been issued with the exception of an encroachment permit. Landscape plan was approved last week. Temporary use permit for an on-site construction office was approved today, and the planned opening is November of this year.
Yeah, they're doing a little site work out there now. I think they've started taking down some trees and equipment in.
AT&T Mobility Cell Tower, 130-foot tall cell tower at 8792 Skyway is completed. Verizon cell tower has been conditionally approved for property located at 6661 Pence Road, which is the Foothill Lumber property. Skyway is still doing their due diligence, or rather Safeway is doing their due diligence on a new site for a Safeway store located on Skyway between Black Olive and Pearson. Plans will be developed over the next several months, we understand, and I think I remember their representative indicating that they'd like to close their escrow by the end of the year. A Big Five Sporting Goods store is currently under construction. All construction permits have been issued, and the planned opening for that store is September of this year. Staff met with Egg Roll Express property managers today, and they indicated that they've been speaking with Modern Building to demolish the building, and we indicated back to them that we'd really be pleased if they could do that within 2 weeks.
If we applaud.
So the citations got their attention, I think.
Eventually. Not yet. No, I don't.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have more citations. Several other blighted properties are also being cited every 10 days in town. And on that note, your staff plans to develop and bring to you a commercial blight ordinance that might help us streamline that process a bit, give us some more tools to use.
And I think our plan is to have a citizen, a couple of council members and some citizens involved in that to flesh that out. Will we be able to, now where we've got this, the property on Sawmill by Stratton's that's been abandoned, do we have tools in place to deal with that, or do we need to add some new tools in our toolbox?
That property was the subject of code enforcement some time ago. I think we brought it to technical compliance, and I don't know if it's among the group of properties that are currently being cited. No, it's not, but we can conduct an inspection and see if it's eligible for that kind of work.
And maybe one of the things we can work on the website is a way for people to be able to submit pictures and say, here's a problem site, can you look into it? Anything we can do to make it easier for the citizenry to pass on information to us, I think, helpful. Okay, thank you, Craig. That update. I was going to mention I got a release from our friend Michael Coleman at California City Finance that in the state budget, I think the state budgeted $125 million to start paying back the billions of dollars that they've stolen from cities. And Paradise was on the list. We only lost, 3.8 million we've lost from them in their takeaways. And
Right, well, they owe us under unfunded mandates, they owe us about $400,000, and I think we're scheduled to get 15,000 of that back.
But if they pay us back, if that's the payment method with all the money they've taken, about 250 years with no interest.
But the good news,
I'll take it.
but the good news is that we're going to get $15,000 from the state this year.
Yeah.
That's the good news. And if the state exceeds their budget, if they exceed their revenue projections, there's another $800 million that they're going to release to pay back some of these unfunded mandates. Hey, I'll tell you what, $15,000, I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's this year.
We can use it. It's a slow process, but
We want to start studying the commercial blight ordinance and how to do that. Can I have a couple of council members?
on the commercial blight ordinance, on dealing with things, abandoned buildings, the stuff by Ray's Liquors and maybe the old car wash next to the new Big Five and Egg Roll. Okay, Mr. Rollins has volunteered to join Ms. Jones on that committee with, so the manager, you'll coordinate the meetings with the planning director.
Greg, he's not here.
Yeah.
That's tradition.
And then we can, at some point, post something. We'll just ask for volunteers from the, from the community at large that would like to Perhaps somebody in the real estate, property management that might be interested in that.
We don't want him, half the houses in town.
I know. He's just looking for more garden space.
Yeah.
That's a deal.
Okay, very good. So that's where we are. All right, we are going to move on to, we have a closed session, correct? Okay. I'm sorry, yeah, John wanted to make a statement.
Yeah, I failed to do this at the proper time, so excuse me. I just wanted to recognize Tom Kelly and thank him for his 35-plus years of fire awareness and for bringing up the Woodland Hill Road project and the Whiskey Flats Road project.
Thank you, but I live here. This is my town and my home is here. That's why I'm here.
Well, we all do, and people like you is what keeps it running.
There's a lot of people.
That's right.
They're all doing it.
I have 6.9 to talk about Rose Kalunky and the old Skyway Lodge Carousel Motel. Thank you for attending this evening, and for those people out there in TV computer land, thanks for watching.